Look, y'all, the Ravens this week, they go head to head with the Buffalo Bills. A familiar foe. It's honestly a familiar playoff foe, but also a familiar regular season foe. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Ravens do. We're going to talk all about it right here on the Be More Show about what the Ravens have to do to beat the Bills. Also, this Ravens offense, it's practically unstoppable, y'all. It really is. It's almost cheating to a certain degree. And we gotta talk about that too. We gotta talk about kind of the differences between the Ravens offense of the past and the Ravens offense of right now, even without Zay Flowers possibly for this week. And also, lastly, what about that one John Harbaugh? Right? It's been a topic of conversation for a while for a lot of Ravens flock. It's been a topic of conversation. We've had to have this discussion. Is John Harbaugh the guy? Can the Ravens win a Super Bowl with John Harbaugh? And I think for a lot of Ravens fans, if you think he can't, how can the Ravens win a Super Bowl despite John Harbaugh? That and very, very much more right here on the Be More Show. Stay tuned. Get your popcorn, get your drink, settle in, and let's talk about these Baltimore Ravens topics right here on the Be More Show. What is going on, my good people out there? Shout out to y'all. I hope y'all doing all right. Look, we got to get right into some Baltimore Ravens stuff, okay? We got just some Baltimore Ravens stuff, okay? Just some Baltimore Ravens stuff. All right, real quick before we get started, 86 Ghost out here hanging out with us once again. Appreciate you for coming by as always. Always giving credit and hanging out with the Ravens content creators. So we appreciate it because I think we do some of the best. Sounds of Lamb is coming. Hey, look, we gotta talk. We gotta talk about these Baltimore Ravens, man. They right here, okay? They right here. I know the first game the Chiefs and the Texans just started. So a lot of people probably gonna be watching that as well. But for those of you who hanging out with me, kind of maybe got the game on the side too. I appreciate y'all for coming by. Let's talk about let's jump right into it. The Ravens versus the Bills. One of those interesting games, right? One of those games that could be game of the year, right? Could be game of the year, could be one of the best games of the playoffs. Like, this is one of those games where you're like, this gonna be good. This gonna be good. And coming into it, you got the two MVP front runners. You got Josh Allen. You got Lamar Jackson. Much on the contrary to what I said last week and what I said throughout the week. But the MVP front runners, you got, honestly, at least I think a lot of people will say, you got one guy on one hand who's got all the playoff success in the world, and he's been there and he's done that, and you got the guy who is the royal playoff failure, right? Like, if we're just going to be honest, right, about what is said about these two guys, how different they are. Same amount of Super Bowls, same amount of Super Bowls. I think, of course, Josh Allen has the better stats. He's been running around with Stephon Diggs for most of his playoff career, but he has the better stats. So there's that. But it's very interesting coming into this game. It's very interesting to see a Ravens-Bills game again, because of course we saw this game. Was it week 4? I think it was week 4, if I'm not mistaken. Where the Ravens whooped. They brought the belts out and they whooped up on the Buffalo Bills, who at the time, I think, were a top team in the AFC, top team in the league. Everybody was saying Super Bowl contender. And the Ravens knocked them off. I think, honestly, if I'm not mistaken, the Ravens were 1-2. So yeah, the Ravens, it was week 4. The Ravens were 1-2, and the Bills were 3-0. And the Bills were looking good. They were looking like I think, better than a lot of people thought they were going to look going into this season, especially losing Stephon Diggs. And I will shout out to them on that. Josh Allen has played very well this season. He's minimized his turnovers, and because of that, that's kind of been, I think, the reason why they played as well as they have. I mean, without kind of that number one guy, I know Keon Coleman was drafted pretty high in what was it, first pick of the second round. But I don't think he's really lived up to the hype. I think it's kind of been wide receiver by committee. Honestly, a thing, it might be a thing or two that the Ravens and Ravens flock know about is kind of wide receiver by committee. And it's worked for guys in the past, and of course, James Cook is a good running back as well. And I think honestly, to be honest with you, it should be a really good game. Now, I always think there's blowout potential, um, especially with the way the Ravens play. I get that it's going to be cold. I get it's going to be frigid. I get it's going to be one of those games where, typically guys would maybe be uncomfortable or something. But I think the cold honestly benefits the Bills because obviously the Bills are used to playing in it, but it benefits the Ravens because of the Ravens style of play, right? You don't have Zay Flowers, and honestly, it might, not allegedly, but I'm gonna say you don't have Zay Flowers, so we all think. And honestly, not having Zay Flowers might be the best thing that happens to the Ravens during this playoff run, right? I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, and I'm not saying I don't want Zay Flowers to come back next week. I would love to have him this week because I think any sort of threat you have on the field is a big threat. But I will say, not having Zay Flowers, I think forces you to lean into your run game. And that's been the biggest concern with the Ravens in the playoffs, especially in their losses, has been the running game. The lack of running game, the fact that you're not running the football, the fact that for whatever reason you can't get out of your own way. You can't get out of your own way. And I agree. Blowout win for the Ravens is always a really it's always a really good game. But it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy because I think, the reason I say this game has blowout potential is because, I mean, the Ravens blow out every good team. They just haven't put it together in the playoffs yet. And even last week against a team that's been your Achilles heel for 7 years, 7 years straight, it feels like, you still punch them in the mouth and really never look back. I think the defense gave a couple of scores, but you never really looked back in that game against a team that's kind of had your number, right? I mean, people were talking to me at work all week about how Mike Tomlin kind of has Lamar's number and has the Ravens number. And, of course, the last two games have been what the last two games have been for Baltimore against Pittsburgh. Shout out to you, 86 goes for letting me know this. Lamar's number 2 in quarterback rating all time in games of the 32 degrees. I didn't realize that. I just remember the one quote where he was talking about how he didn't really like playing in the cold. But I mean, I've never seen Lamar shrink down in the cold or nothing like that. I know, of course, we all remember the game in 2020 when, it just wasn't a good game overall. But it was still another one of those games where the Ravens stepped away from what they do. They didn't lean in on the run game. And I think, honestly, the running game is what makes this Ravens offense unstoppable. The running game is what makes this Ravens offense so indefensible, is the fact of how many threats that creates on the field. Previously you had guys like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, but now with Derrick Henry, you have to respect that. And that's no offense to those other guys. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's no offense to those other guys. But Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry until proven otherwise. I know I always say that, but that's just how it is. But I think going into this Ravens Bills matchup, I think I'm gonna break it down into my 3 things to do, 2 things to avoid, like I always do. And then when I find something different, we're gonna run with it. But let's start with the 3 things you're gonna have to do, that the Ravens are gonna have to do to win this game. And it could be similar to my Steelers preview, because in my Steelers preview I said play a clean game. That was my first one, and the same thing here: avoid turnovers. Turnovers have been the Achilles heel of the Ravens, but besides not running the ball and completely running away from your identity, turnovers have been another aspect of it where it's been like, and I don't know the record off the top of my head, but I would love to know the Ravens record if they don't turn the football over. Because we talked about this before. The Ravens a lot of times don't get out talented by nobody, right? The Ravens don't really get outplayed by anybody, right? A lot of times the Ravens get outplayed by the Ravens. The Ravens screw the Ravens, right? The Ravens screw the Ravens, and that's something that the Ravens cannot do in this game is turn the ball over. They can't. They simply can't turn the ball over. This defense is good. Josh Allen is going to capitalize on it. Do not give Josh Allen anything easy, right? Don't give Josh Allen anything easy, right? So avoid turnovers and force turnovers. You got to. Yes, three. Let me make sure I explain this right. Three to do, two not two to avoid. So I'm talking about two to avoid for the Ravens. Like you're trying. Like I mean, it could be don't let your opponent do this, but it also could be, don't give up your offensive identity, which is not one. Even though I think it's safe to say that it might be one. But anyway, number two, I'm gonna say run the ball. Right, run the football. It's gonna be cold. It's going to be frigid. Hitting that ground is going to be hard. And honestly, I would say lean on Derrick Henry, lean on Justice Hill. You can throw Keaton Mitchell out there, run some reverses. And, I've heard a lot of people talking about how, if what the Ravens can do is incorporate Bateman into these reverses, incorporate Sims into these reverses, right? Incorporate some guys that, Tylan Wallace is another one. Incorporate those guys into the reverses for the simple fact of I'm not expecting it, right? I'm not worried about Tylan Wallace, especially without Zay, right? Without Zay, I'm not worried about Tylan Wallace coming around on a reverse. I'm just not, right? He ain't proven to me that he's going to beat me on a reverse. I ain't worried about Steven Sims attacking me on a reverse. So those are the perfect opportunities to attack the Bills defense would be with that. But at the same time, the other part of it is run the ball straight at them, tire them out, work them down. That's what you did against the Steelers last week. And honestly, the Steelers started to fold up like a chair, right? They started to fold over because, the key to Derrick Henry running the football is volume. Give him the ball. And let Lamar beat him with a little bit of speed here and there, but I don't think you have to lean on Lamar too much. When it's there, it's there. But when it's not, take the things that's easy. So I think run the ball is my second one. And I think the other thing that the Ravens, or maybe I should say someone is going to have to do is somebody's going to have to step up in the passing game. We talking about big third downs. We talking about even being creative on first down, right? And going with maybe some play action passes on first down. Somebody's got to step up in the passing game, whether that's Mark Andrews, whether that's Bate, right? Or, it could be Likely. I think the Likely is another one where, when Likely's on the field, he there's nobody like Zay, right? Probably in this league, but Zay is a very unique receiver. They call him the human joystick for a reason, right? They call Zay the human joystick for a reason. And the way he plays, nobody else plays like it. Like I scoured the Ravens wide receiving roster to find somebody who plays like him. Steven Sims don't play like him. Tylan Wallace don't play like him. Of course, Bate doesn't play like him. Likely is maybe the closest thing to him, just not as fast. Because Likely got a little bit of wiggle when he catches the football. So Likely might be the guy who needs to step up even more this week because Likely got that little bit of wiggle after he catch the ball. He gonna try to make you miss. He gonna hit you with a stiff arm. He might hit you with a spin. Like he's trying to make yards after the catch. And the thing about Likely is he's going to make yards after the catch. Likely is not going down. Likely is not going down. He's not going down without a fight. Let's jump into the two things to avoid. Two things to avoid. First things first, big plays. You have to avoid the big play for the defense. So I mean, kind of like 86 Ghost pointed out in my confusion of my explanation of this whole thing. But you have to avoid, you can't let the Bills create big plays. But if you're the defense, you have to avoid giving up big plays. And I think because of that, the Bills have explosive potential, right? The Bills offense can explode. I mean, I don't know who their number one guy is, but it don't matter. They can hit you with a big play, whether it be with the tight end, whether it be with the running back, whether it be with any of those receivers, especially Shakir. Shakir is one of the so Shakir is I feel like he's kind of their big play guy. He's their first down magnet. But you gotta avoid the big plays. You have to. If you know in this game, especially when it comes to them picking on Brandon Stevens, which I'm gonna get to that in a second. With them picking on Brandon Stevens, you know what's gonna happen. Brandon Stevens has been I don't know if I should say that, has been a liability, right, in coverage this year, comparatively to everybody else, comparatively to Nate, comparatively to Marlowe. They've been attacking Brandon Stevens. Comparatively to Kyle Hamilton, they've been attacking Brandon Stevens. So you can't allow big plays, especially to his side, to any side, really. And I'm including some of those big plays we saw last week. One to George Pickens that we saw, that ended up being a touchdown, right? I'm talking about some of those too, right? Some of those big plays like that. Number two on this one, you have to avoid leaving Brandon Stevens by himself. I'm sorry. I know I don't want to even want to do Brandon Stevens like this. Okay. I really don't. I don't want to do Brandon Stevens like this. This is not Brandon Stevens' issue. Okay. Maybe it's a me issue, but no. But you have to make sure that Brandon Stevens has help. You have to avoid him being put in just solely one-on-one situations. Because if he ends up matched up on Shakir, I'm a little concerned. Honestly, I think he can match up pretty decently with Keon, to be honest. But I want to see help over this hop with him because they're just picking on him, and the thing about it is, if you pick on a guy over and over and over again, it's gonna be trouble. It just simply is. It's gonna be trouble. So don't allow that to happen. So that's my 5 things to preview this game for the Bills. What do I think is gonna happen? Honestly, I think it's going to be a big win for the Ravens. I think I talked about this last week, and I'm firmly standing. I'm firmly standing on it, and I've heard this from other people too. But I feel like this is really like not only Lamar, but just Ravens under the Lamar era legacy type run. Right, this is one of those where you might see all your foes right in a row, and you got to knock them all down. And there ain't no better way to knock them all down than to beat him up, break his neck. You know what I mean? Like there's no better feeling than beating the Steelers the way you did last week. Honestly, it made the darn promo for this week even better that you beat them last week like that. Same thing with the Bills. I want to see 35-10 again, right? I want the Ravens to look unstoppable, potentially going into KC next week, right? I want them to look like man, how is KC gonna stop this team, right? Now that this team is not in week 1 shape, week 1, no preseason, brand new guys into the fold shape. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited going into this game against the Bills. I think it's gonna be good. I think regardless, it'll probably still be a good game. It'll be very interesting to see how things play out in this one against the Bills. Topic number 2. Let's go with the Ravens offense. Let's talk about this Ravens offense. All right. The Ravens offense is unstoppable. Let's talk about why. Right? Now, it might be I think you could be talking about this in a different light in some hours from by Sunday night, but as of right now, as of what we've seen from the Ravens, the Ravens have shown that this offense can be and possibly is unstoppable, right? This offense has analysts in awe, film guys in awe. I think us as fans, for an offense that's been pretty good over the last couple of years, to see it continue to grow, right? To see what this offense looks like with Zay Flowers in it, right? I think it looks different with Zay Flowers out, not in it, but they keep going even when Zay Flowers isn't in the lineup, And I think there's a reality, a really big reality, that Zay Flowers will not be on the field for the Bills matchup, right? More than likely didn't play. But I think, of course, you have threats now. And we've talked about this for years, right? We've talked about this for years. Back when Hollywood was the main guy, and we're like, who the heck else is gonna step up? You know, we got Michael Crabtree, and you got Miles Boykin and these guys, right? Like, who else is gonna step up? And it was a point where you take the tight end out, and that's it. And back then, this was still a record-breaking, not only offense but rush offense. But I think the biggest difference is Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry until proven otherwise, right? Derrick Henry is borderline an unstoppable back until proven otherwise, right? Like, especially if you give him the amount of carries that he needs to get going. Derrick Henry is one of those guys. He might hit you with 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 4, and then pop a 40-yard run right off of that, because of the volume of it. Because he's a volume runner, and because of that, you got to give him the carries for him to be successful. But he also can break it from the jump too. He also can break it from the jump. And honestly, it's one of those scenarios where it's like, this offense is unstoppable because of the talent that they have now. And they finally have a lot of talent to play with. And the crazy part about it is it could be better. We all understand. And let me put this caveat out there. I think we trust our guys, right? I think we do like our guys. We like Bate, right? We like Zay. We like Mark Andrews. We like Likely, right? But I think we can all safely say that if T. Higgins, which he probably will be, is on the market, and you can get a guy you don't have right now, we ain't gonna be mad about it, right? When Odell was on the market, there was a reason. Even with Zay in the room, even with Bateman in the room, that we wanted Odell to incorporate some things. We talked about it, last year. I felt like Odell, even though he didn't maybe have the production that we wanted, Odell still took top corners out of the game, because you still gonna worry about Odell until Odell is not Odell, which could be now, who knows? But until Odell is not Odell, I think that's why everybody was so excited about Deontay Johnson, and we saw how that played out. But I think that's why people were excited about Deontay Johnson, was because to add another guy to that wrinkle, it spreads everybody out. I think I said that when they traded for him. It's like, you spread people out, and instead of having to worry about just the tight ends, when I have to worry about just the tight ends, I don't have to worry about outside the numbers, because I'm only worried about just the tight ends. But now you got receivers that's beating people. We've seen Rashad Bateman beat number one guys. We've seen Zay Flowers beat number one guys. And you have a running back who you can lean on at any point in time, and he's not going to stop. And that's, like I said before, that's not a shot at Gus Edwards. That's not a shot at J.K. Dobbins. That's not a shot at Justice Hill. But at the same time, Derrick Henry, and we all know this, and we can faithfully and safely admit that Derrick Henry is one of a kind. He is one of a kind. The way he runs, the power that he possesses, the speed that he has, the ability to break a play is one of a kind, right? It's one of a kind. I think, you could say similar words to that about Keaton Mitchell. I like Justice Hill. I do. I think he's played well, very well this year, but I would love to see a yin and yang of Derrick Henry and that power and that speed with Keaton Mitchell. I'm just saying with that speed. I'm just saying. But I think this offense is already unstoppable, and it can just get better. But I think this offense has to stick true to who they are. This offense has to stick true to who they are. And to finalize this, let's just be honest, right? And a lot of us have seen this, and we haven't seen many wrinkles with it. right? A lot of us have seen this, but we haven't seen many wrinkles with it. All right. A lot of us have seen this, but we have not seen many wrinkles with this. This is one of the plays from last week, semi unrelated to what I'm talking about, but we have seen the potential for play action passes. A Derrick Henry pass play is coming soon. Yeah, like even just watching this play, a Derrick Henry pass play, probably a Derrick Henry passing touchdown is coming soon. That's the one where he punched Mink in the mouth. Anyway, a Derrick Henry pass play is coming very, very soon. And the other play that we saw, where Derrick Henry ended up scoring, I think he ended up scoring a touchdown on that play, was the one where Lamar kept it for so long, right? Y'all remember that one, where Lamar kept the ball for so long? I think the other part of this offense that makes it practically unstoppable is how simple it is, right? And that's not to discredit anybody on the Ravens team. Honestly, it's kind of to give a shout out to the scheme. If the Ravens run any sort of play action, you got to respect the fake. You have to, especially if they get under center. You have to respect it. You have to respect the fake. And when things like that happen, even in those read option situations, you have to respect. You simply have to respect everybody involved. You have to respect everybody involved in this play right now, right? Let's go back to it real quick. I just want to show y'all when we just line up. I don't know why I can't get this little bar to show up. But anyway, you have to respect this guy right here, 22. You have to respect Lamar, right? But at the same time, right, I'm trying to see who's even in on this play. I see Tylen, but let's just say it's your regular cast of characters, right? You'd have to respect Zay. You'd have to respect Bate at least, and then you probably got a tight end. I can't tell if because Ronnie's obviously right here. That's probably Kolar more than likely, but you have to respect a lot of different layers to this offense, and that makes this offense so dangerous. It makes this offense so dangerous that you have to respect so many things. And when you got that guy running like that, you got to respect it. You have to. And the play action game, because we've been talking about this for years. We was talking about this with Gus Edwards. We was talking about this with Gus Edwards. The play action game is so simple for this team because they're literally the best rushing team of the decade. They're literally the best rushing team of the decade. Literally, I'm not just saying that because I'm a big time Ravens fan with a Ravens hat on. They're literally the best rushing team of the decade. So you add Derrick Henry into the fold, you have to respect that fake now. Because you know for a fact he could pop one like that. That's why this Ravens offense is completely unstoppable. Look, one more thing before I get out of here. I'm gonna go watch this game myself. See who I'm hoping the Ravens get to play next week. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans upset them. It'd be nice to have another home playoff game. Anyway, look. Let's jump into it. Can the Ravens win a Super Bowl with John Harbaugh as the head coach? Honestly, I might not even have time to even talk about this today. I might not. All right, so this has been on my mind for the whole season. This has been on my mind the whole season, especially as things get closer and the Ravens are playing at a very high level. You start to get some thoughts in your brain. Can the Ravens do it with John Harbaugh as head coach? Because the thought has been, especially over the past couple off seasons, and especially because of some of the playoff failures, and the whole dynamic of a QB and a quarterback being, together for a certain period of time. The reason I ask this question is because of that dynamic. A lot of people say, once the quarterback passes that 5th year, you extend him. There's no way they're winning the Super Bowl. It's not happening. So the Ravens have a chance, right, to not only have a guy that a lot of people would say is run first, if you don't watch the game. A lot of people would say is a runner, right? Is more of a runner at quarterback. The best rushing quarterback of all time. We can say that at least. And we have John Harbaugh, Hall of Fame head coach, together past their 5th year. So you got two different complete. You got two different things that honestly, how can I say this? You got two different things working against you, right? Let's put it like that. You got two different things working against you. You got a head coach who's been here for a while, won a Super Bowl before, but you working on past that 5th year option for your QB. So a lot of people say, a lot of pundits say, it's time to split it off. That's what according to the numbers, according to the metrics, according to, as the Ravens love to talk about, the analytics, it's time. It's time to break it up. It's time to break it. Bam, right? You also got the fact of Lamar Jackson being a heavy rusher on this team, right? You have the fact that Lamar Jackson is a heavy rusher on this team, and is that sustainable, and can that win a Super Bowl, and this, that, and the third, right? You have that aspect in there. So that's two things kind of working against your Super Bowl hopes if you're the Ravens. But I honestly think if the Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl, first things first, if we all want to see the Ravens win a Super Bowl this year, they're going to have to win it with John Harbaugh at the helm, right? That's obvious, as we can see. But at the same time, we got to remember that the Ravens are going that I personally think, even if John Harbaugh wins the Super Bowl this year, he ain't going nowhere. I think he's here for a little bit longer. His brother just came back into the league, and I think he got some proving that he still want to do. Because of that, the Ravens are going to have to win Super Bowls in spite of John Harbaugh, right? They're going to have to win Super Bowls despite any of this, any of the issues that we may as fans see. But I think, watching Hard Knocks, gives you I feel like watching Hard Knocks and Wired and stuff gives you a interesting appreciation for the teams, for the coaching staff, for for just the players in general too. And it's very interesting. I feel like it seems like Harbaugh is kind of, and I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna say it again. He's kind of just letting the Masters do what the Masters do, right? John Harbaugh is being the leader. I think this is the blueprint to the Ravens winning a Super Bowl, right? Maybe winning multiple back-to-back, we hope. The key to the Ravens winning a Super Bowl, multiple Super Bowls, is kind of John Harbaugh staying out of the way, right? John Harbaugh, us not talking about John Harbaugh, us in terms of Ravens content creators, and specifically because we're the ones that kind of hold him accountable more than anybody. But it's like, if we don't have to talk about Harbaugh, I think the Ravens are doing something right. And the biggest thing is, if John Harbaugh wins the Super Bowl, I don't think he's going anywhere. And like I said, I feel like he's kind of letting the masters of their work do what the masters do. He's letting Todd Monken run his offense. If a little bit of input needs to be put in there, he's putting it in there. But he's really, hey, Todd, you got this. Zach Orr, you got this. When input needed to be made earlier this season, when Zach Orr was struggling, do you fire him? Do you bring an assistant in or something? He went with the assistant route instead of firing him, right? And this defense is turned around, right? At least for the most part. So I feel like this might be the version of John Harbaugh we win a Super Bowl or two, maybe three, with, right? Like, this may be the version that we've needed for a while. The version that, in no disrespectful way, but for lack of a better term, just stays out of the way, right? Just stays out of the way. Todd, you do you. Zach, you do you. I'll handle what I master in, which is special teams. Because I feel like special teams has been better as of late. And maybe some of the pressure from Justin Tucker not making kicks has honestly put John Harbaugh back into his special teams bag. And it's like, hey, I master this, y'all handle this, y'all handle that. I think this might be the version of John Harbaugh that could possibly take the Ravens to the Super Bowl. The John Harbaugh that leads people, the John Harbaugh that provides inspirational quotes, the John Harbaugh that leads prayer after the game, the John Harbaugh that understands the X's and O's, but doesn't step in until he makes sure that the guys he hired can do the job, right? That the guys he hired aren't missing in some form or fashion. That's what I think. I think the Ravens, so to answer the question that I put, you can see it scrolling beneath me, but to answer the question that I'm saying, I think the Ravens can win, or wins, as I have it now. Anyway, I think the Ravens can win a Super Bowl with John Harbaugh as head coach. I think they can win multiple. I think if we want to see, I think ideally they do win multiple, because I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they can win, but I think this is the version of John Harbaugh that works the best, right? Let the masters be the masters. Gary Kubiak, master of the game, former head coach. Let him do it, right? Let him do his thing. Todd Monken, future head coach. Let him do his thing. Zach Orr, we'll see, right? Just his first year. We'll see what happens with Zach Orr, right? But, if he needs a little bit of coaching on this side, let him have it, and let's let him do his job. I'm going to go work on this and make sure this is right, and we're good. I'm going to inspire y'all. I'm going to make sure that y'all know what's going on, right? That's what I think. I mean, now, winning is the best deodorant. We always talked about this. It's the old cliche, right? Winning gonna cover up everything. Winning is one of those things where it's like we don't think about as much stuff when you're winning games, especially when you're winning them in dominant fashion. And the Ravens have been over the past couple weeks. You're not gonna think about lapses and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's looking pretty good so far. And this run that the Ravens have been on as of late, post Eagles game, I think we felt good about it. We felt good about time management. We felt good about the game plan, the way it's been ran. We felt good about even in this first playoff game, and especially if you can string another one on top of it, because the Ravens have had trouble stringing back-to-back playoff games together, right? The Ravens made the AFC Championship game last year after competing in the divisional round, but they couldn't string back-to-back games together. So really, the test of can the Ravens win with John Harbaugh as head coach, and can he keep two consistent playoff games and string two really good coached playoff games together, is going to be against the Bills. But I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all for coming by. Shout out to 86 Ghosts. I know it's been more y'all hanging out, but y'all ain't been in the comments, so I didn't know. Y'all ain't hit that subscribe button, so maybe I didn't know. Okay, but I appreciate. Well, let me not pull up my confusion. Let me not pull up the way I confused 86 Ghosts over there. But shout out to 86 Ghosts for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. I do want to remind y'all, like I always try to do, that you can always take the show with you. You can always, in case you need to, right? In case you want to, you can always take the Be More Show with you on all major podcasting platforms. But we're going to get up out of here. We're going to go watch the Chiefs take on the Texans and see who the Ravens possibly, if they do what I think they're going to do tomorrow, will have to play in this next game. But we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Be More Show. I appreciate y'all for coming by. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time.